What's the most out-of-pocket thing a doctor has said to you? When my wife and I decided to start trying for a baby, she went to her doctor to get her IUD removed. She had read somewhere that after removing an IUD, you should wait a few weeks before trying to conceive, but she wasn't sure if she believed that. Turns out it's not true. So after the procedure was done, she asked the doctor, "How long should we wait until we start trying to get pregnant?" He said, "Well, you should probably wait until you get home." Not a doctor, but a dentist. When I was like 13 or 14, he commented on my lack of gag reflex, telling me that I'm going to be very popular with the boys. It took me a few years to realize what he meant by that. I was the opposite. My dentist said, "If you always gag like that, you're never going to find a good husband." I didn't understand why my mom yanked me out of the dentist's chair, but I'm proud of her for that. I think I was 6 or 7 years old. I had a growth on my scalp a few years ago and went to see a skin cancer specialist who said it was a melanoma and I was going to need most of my scalp removed without even having a biopsy. He starts telling me to prepare myself for this surgery that will disfigure me. I was about 19 at the time with long hair. He stares saying I'll need to wear a wig and my hair may not grow back and the skin above my eyes will need to be removed. I was petrified. Went home in tears and absolutely petrified. Then my dad took me to his doctor, who took a biopsy. It was just a random skin growth, and she cut it off then and there. Far out. Mentioned that my intimacy drive was abnormally low to my gyno, and she said my husband just needed to be more forceful when initiating, and I'd get into it. Immediately switched doctors and never looked back. That my period wasn't that bad, and I was fine taking 18 Advil a day. Then telling me she could just sterilize me and cramps would go away. She wouldn't prescribe me anything for pain, and said if I wanted illegal substances, to go somewhere else. So I did. The next doctor suggested an IUD, which was the right solution. Went to go get tested for celiac. Doctor runs the blood test, and it comes back that I have it. She asked if I was active intimately, and I said no. She read my results, basically told me I have celiac, but all my celiac symptoms were cause I was lying about my activity and they were all in my head. Told me to see the engine and go to group therapy. Not that bad, but it gives my new doctors a laugh when I tell them, "You don't need antidepressants, you just need to surrender to Jesus. He has a plan for you." Real doctor comment. Injured my back doing CrossFit in 2012. Woke up a couple days later unable to walk. A doctor told me, while showing me the x-ray, that my backbone is bending the wrong way and I need surgery. Went to an ortho the next day who told me the doctor was holding the x-ray backwards. Turns out I strained the muscles in my lower back and got a 5-day muscle steroid pack that had me waking again after day 2. An doctor who sees a lot of people a day. An doctor. When I was 13 I got mono from drinking the same water bottle as my friend. Mono is known here as the kissing disease, and when I was sick I got shamed for it. I went to the doctor, and he was an old man who said I'm not surprised a pretty girl like you has mono. It was so creepy. I was 13, alone in the exam room with him basically. Not to me, but I heard another doctor say to an obviously emotional woman that was having an active miscarriage, "It'll be okay. You still have 2 other kids, right?" I told him afterward what a bad thing to say to someone experiencing the loss of a baby, but he didn't really absorb it. After standing in the hallway outside the room, loudly talking football with someone else for over 15 minutes, the doc walks into my room, tells me he does not have time to address my health concerns and will refer me to a specialist if I want, then leaves. Less than 3 minutes in the room. I reported him to both the medical group he was a part of, their parent medical group, and requested a change of physician with my insurance company that day. I don't know what happened to him, but if he made a habit of that with other patients, I hope he was fired. I had smashed my face on my steering wheel during a bad car accident and was experiencing intense pain. I teared up when he put the scope in my nose and was told I obviously have psychological problems and if I went on medication it might not help my pain, but I wouldn't care as much. Finally found a good doctor and surgery removed the chunk of nose bone that was stabbing into a nerve in my face. As a teenager, I went to a doctor for a sore throat. I thought I might have had strep throat. Anyway, as he was examining my throat, he starts asking if I have regular periods. Not sure what that had to do with a sore throat. I replied, yes, I get one every month. They average about every 24 days. When I use the word average, he thought my periods were indeed irregular. He says to me, you will never be able to have children. I so wanted to say, okay doc, now that you've given me a totally irrelevant diagnosis, are you gonna look up my to see if I have strep throat? That I was faking it because I needed attention after my mom died. Covered him in puke 10 minutes later, so I'm good. While I was taking chemo treatments, an old female nurse came in to clean my PICC line with a saline solution. I have a very strong reaction to saline. I can taste it and smell it very strongly, so I asked the nurse if she would inject the saline slowly so I don't get sick. She responded with, saline solutions don't make nobody sick, and I ain't got time to do it slowly. I waved my parents off to the side away from the bed because I knew what was about to happen. She injected 20 ccs of saline as fast as she could, and as soon as the stopper hit bottom, I buffed up the entire contents of my stomach onto her chest and lap. I didn't apologize. I just said, told you so. First off, here's some context. Went to the doctor for my ADHD medication update a few weeks ago, and she had asked me if I knew who she was, and when I said my doctor, she asked what her name is, and I responded with her name. So she asked me this. IDK, if this is odd, so you know who I am. Good, now who are you? Your full name, age, exact birth date, reason you are here, and your height and weight. When I stuttered on it, I have a really bad stutter BTW. She asked me an even weirder question. Do you know who you are? Do you know if you're real? Are you sure you are really you? A gentleman I worked with showed up to work one day looking extremely sick. He was incredibly feverish, had muscle and joint aches, very lethargic, and was looking very jaundiced. We insisted that he go to the doctor, as he looks like he is on death's door. He told us that he had been to 2 separate doctors in the year, letting them know that he has malaria, and can they please give him some anti-malarials. Both doctors in the year insisted that it was impossible to have malaria, as Australia doesn't have malaria, and that he probably just had the flu or some other viral infection. And they are correct, we don't have malaria here. But what they failed to grasp was that this gentleman was an expat who worked in Africa for a number of years and has had malaria 5 times already. So not only is he an expert in what malaria feels like, but he is also at risk of developing malaria again. Even if he hasn't been to Africa in a few years, he ended up having to go back to the and basically force them to run a test for malaria, after which they were like, oh wow, you do have malaria. And he was like, no I told you that 2 days ago. My hormones were out of whack. I was drinking 300 plus ounces of water a day and still thirsty. I would go to bed with a 32 ounces of water and wake up all night to either drink the water or use the restroom. I slept in 30-minute spurts every night for months. I went to 3 endocrinologists. One told me I was a drama queen, and if you want attention, there are better ways to get it, and you need to lose weight. The second told me you have a stressful job, get a less stressful job. The third walked and said, get off your birth control, see you in 8 weeks, and walked out. That was the whole appointment. Turns out I had a tumor on my adrenal gland. Found out when I had a CORT scan for a kidney stone, and I have stage 3 adrenocortical carcinoma. A couple years ago I switched doctors. I've had a regular Adderall prescription for years, since I was diagnosed with ADHD. We were discussing how much I take, and he seemed concerned that I was taking 30 milligrams a day. I told him my Adderall prescription was meant to be for everyday use, because I need it almost every day, to which he responded, yeah, but it's good to take mini vacations from it. I told him that I don't take it on days I don't absolutely need it, but I'm a full-time student and my health is a concern when it comes to re-establishing tolerance after these vacations. My last doctor and I established over years of visits that it was better for me not to go too long without taking it, because my weight drops like a rock when I don't eat, and if I haven't taken it in a couple days it kills my appetite for the next few days, and it's a struggle to force feed myself just to not lose too much weight when I'm already very skinny. He raised his voice and blew up at me. Then you're not going to keep taking it. If you aren't going to take it how I tell you to. I barely knew how to respond. My face must have been bright red because it was just like how my dad used to scream at me. Rant, why do some doctors and random people act like everyone who is prescribed Adderall is some junkie who needs to be limited as much as possible? I've been taking it exactly as prescribed for years. I don't sell it. I don't misuse it or anything. I need it. It's the difference between when I was straight D's and F's in high school struggling and straight A's and B's now in college. If I had been diagnosed and prescribed this sooner, maybe I cold went to an actual good college and done something with my life. I was never dumb. I have a mental illness that makes the education system ridiculously hard. You'll insist on locking me on hard difficulty mode by putting a shitty stigma on the disorder and the medications used to alleviate it. It's not meth. It's like everything caffeine wishes it was and nothing more. Motivation, energy, calmness, pure focus. It's not the same if you don't have ADHD, but I was literally diagnosed and prescribed this medication. I'm not trying to get high. I'm trying to get by.